to order. The first thing on our agenda is a moment of reflection, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Will you please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Council, you have had the opportunity to look over the minutes from our council study session of March 16th, 2015, our council meeting minutes of March 16th, 2015, our council special meeting minutes of March 16th, and our special council meeting minutes of March 23rd. Are there any corrections or revisions to any of those? Seeing none, they'll stand approved. We have no communications, petitions, or awards this evening, nor do we have any public hearings. And that brings us to our agenda item where if there's someone in the audience who would like to make a comment to us, would you please come to the podium, state your name and address for our records, and give us your comment. Good evening.
Good evening. My name's George Mormon, and I'm here on behalf as a resident of.
You gave us your name, but we need your address
Oh,
for
the
the
address.
records, please. I'm sorry.
10880 Frederick Pike.
Thank you.
And I'm here on behalf of a number of residents to speak in a concerned manner towards the traffic and the additional construction that's happening out by the Procter & Gamble building, and the stress that traffic is putting into our neighborhoods. And if there is future discussions on extending rail out to that area, I believe it will do nothing but extend the congestion within our neighborhood. So I understand it's not on the agenda tonight, but I think somewhere through the process I'd like to get that on record that there are concerned residents out there, including myself. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Is there anyone else?
My name is Alan Kiger. I live at 11878 Frederick Pike, Vandalia. I'm also concerned about the railway that is in question. I would like to voice my opinion on that. Not particularly looking forward to anything else going on out there. We've got enough going on with P&G and the annexation that's been going on. I'm watching traffic every day become more and more congested with semi-trucks. I have children that drive now and grandchildren on the way that will be in those cars, and it concerns me a lot. I've seen a number of people that get frustrated by the semi-trucks and are passing on 40 in a double yellow lane. Really dangerous maneuvers. Obviously, it's illegal. The driver shouldn't be doing that. It's not the truck driver's fault. But people are getting frustrated out there. And this is just the beginning. So I'm also concerned. And I want to make sure that everybody knows that there's a lot of concerned people out there. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Marty Williams. I live at 5276 Old Springfield Road. I have 2 points I wanted to make. First, regarding the railway project, I'm still not clear since the EPA made its ruling several years ago that the area in question was too contaminated to be used by Meyer, and I would like to ask if someone can answer, have there been any additional studies as to whether this land is more contaminated now than it was then, or is it less contaminated?
Mr. Cruzy, do you have an answer for that?
I'm not aware of any additional studies. I wasn't here then. I'm not aware that the EPA ruled it was too contaminated for Meyer to develop there. I think that was a decision they made on their own. But again, I wasn't here during that time, so I'm not.
I can
I'm not
speak to
exactly
that.
sure.
I would agree with Mr. Cruzy. My understanding is that Meyer didn't develop there on their own because of the trichloroethylene underneath the ground, but it wasn't a prohibition by the EPA for them to acquire that land. They just decided to go ahead and move north with their project, and predicated on the idea that there was nothing inhibiting their growth up there, and it was a problem they didn't want to have to deal with. But I don't think it was a determination by the EPA that the ground was unbuildable, and hence that entire area, which is due east of the General Motors plant, which was an airline plant years ago. Then that's where the pollution had emanated from, or at least they thought. I don't know of any subsequent studies that have
Who
been
put the
done.
wells in to check all that
The
stuff?
monitoring wells were put in 20 years ago, and that was probably about 1994. I don't know what, if any, activity has occurred since then. The city hasn't been a part of that since 2001, since I've been here, and I don't know perhaps you could contact the Dayton EPA office, and they might be able to give you some more information related to that. But I don't know of any personally, and I keep kind of a close eye on it. I used to live over there. It's an area of interest.
Okay. My second, and I don't know what the protocol is for this, but I think as citizens, we would have a right to know, is there a way to poll the council members to see where they stand on whether they are in favor of bringing this project in?
Not speaking for the council, but I don't think we know what the project consists of, because nor does the county. They talked about reactivating an existing spur that's already there and owned by CSX on CSX property, which has limited the council's ability to effectuate any type of a change in that policy. It's owned by the railroad on property. I mean, the rail line's owned by the railroad on much of the property that's owned by the railroad. It's pre-existing, and the ability for the city to make a change related to that is fairly limited. And as it relates to the county, I think we all know, what the designs are ultimately, or they wouldn't be reactivating the spur and trying to, enhance it and its capabilities. But I have not seen a plan as it relates to what is going to happen. We're all surmising what's going to happen, and I think we're probably all right or correct in that assumption. But in terms of being able to act on anything, I don't think we're at that point yet. And defer comments to you folks.
I think you said it very, very well, because we have limited information also. And I think the only thing that we have been able to say to all of you is that we want to work with you. And whatever that design or whatever happens out there, we want to work with you.
Is there any point, if no one knows exactly what this design is, how can you make decisions or whether to stop it or to go through with it? When they do finally come up with presenting this plan, is it then going to be too late to do anything to stop it?
Do you want to?
Well, I'm not sure what plan you're speaking of at this
The
point.
development of the entire area,
Okay, which area?
We don't have a vote.
not the railroad tracks necessarily, but the big land where they would build all their warehouse units and all that stuff that they're talking about apparently.
The zoning of that out there is controlled either by the township or would be the Butler Township of the City of Union. And if it's the township, ultimately is the county, Montgomery County, that would pass on whether that zoning can be changed, because they control that. The township doesn't have the ability to zone. And outside of the jurisdiction of Vandalia, we don't have the ability to influence that other than what we might say here and and put in the newspaper. So it goes to the county and/or in the city of Union, which has annexed much of that land, and/or the township, which zoning is then, they would go to the county commission and they would approve the zoning change. Is that not correct?
Well, and also the city of Dayton. I mean, the airport is
Right.
owned and is within the city of Dayton. So any development within the airport grounds or on airport property would be under control of the city of Dayton.
But
So
the
you've got-
the Castle Road area
Correct.
would all be Butler Township.
No,
No.
no,
Uh,
Vandalia.
Some of it's
Okay.
Most of
Vandalia.
that
Much
is in
of
the city
Castle
of
Road is us.
Yes.
Okay, so what,
I think we're talking two different things here.
okay, I'm primarily interested with the Castle Road section.
I'm going to say that what's been presented to us, we have to look at the same way you do. What do you really, where are you going with this? What do you really want? Because it's not necessary out there now. So there's no big development in the works for Castle Road. It's not there. It's not on the books. It's not in our plans. It's not justified. That spur to that point right now is not justified in our mind. And that's what we have control over. We have no control after that point.
Okay, but you have control over the spur.
No,
No.
no.
You don't have
No,
control.
that land is in the city.
Okay,
So the businesses that would be benefited potentially by that spur would be Vandalia businesses in that regard. But there's no plan, there's nobody at this point that's asking us to help them get that rail spur in there.
Basically, I think she's trying to, well, what I've always understood it to be is if they want to put the rail in and reactivate the spur, they can do so without any approval, in spite of any contrary belief of the City Council of Vandalia. It's there, it's on private property, it's privately owned, they can do it if they want. The only thing we could do is verbally object to it. It's not like they're gonna ask us, yes or no, do you want to say yes to do it or no not to do it? As it's already in existence, they can do whatever they want with it. The only thing we can do is verbally object.
and then if they do decide to put the spur in, then the rest of it would be determined by the county. Is that what you're saying? If
Beyond
other
the
developments-
confines of the city of Vandalia. So we control only the jurisdiction of Vandalia, and currently there is an inactive rail spur there that is owned by CSX, and much of the land in the industrial park there, all of that land, as far as I know, is also owned by CSX. And it already has existing zoning, which, we can't change the zoning of a property owner after it's already in effect. So they have the ability to reactivate that, but it hasn't been economically feasible for them to do it, thus they mothballed the existing rail spur. What I think brings most of you folks here and what we're all a little bit, we're concerned about is the potential for them to reactivate it and then the movement toward extending that rail spur beyond where it terminates now, across through Dayton and into Butler Township and beyond into the area that Union has annexed.
Okay. Well, I think I'm getting stupider the longer I stand up here, but just the area east of, or west of Castle Road is owned by Vandalia,
Well,
correct?
no.
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 The property is.
In
with-
Vandalia,
It's in
It's in
Vandalia.
Vandalia, I mean, yeah.
owned by a
Yes.
private
Right,
company.
right, but it's in Vandalia.
Yeah, and it's zoned industrial.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Seeing none, we'll go on to, oh, you're a little late coming up.
Sorry. Well, I think a lot of the other people are going to speak, but
Oh, okay. Sorry.
happy